Hey, welcome everyone to another spur of the moment live stream. I appreciate you being here, and I apologize for not scheduling it. I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to be able to make it today, so I didn't want to put it out there until I knew for sure I was going to be able to do this. So anyway, welcome. I don't know how many people are here. I see Grish in the chat. We'll wait for a few more people to come in. It says we have 4 concurrent viewers, but if you're out there, say hello. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know what the video and the audio looks and sounds like, and we will go from there. So let's see. And my comments, for whatever reason, today are working, so yay. Could actually get them on the screen. So Grish says, love the look with this camera angle, and I believe he means this look right here. So yeah, I kind of like this angle, Grish. I'm not actually quite sure exactly the use case for it other than kind of being a novelty angle. But yep, I like it. It's there. One of the things I did do this week was I was playing around with, instead of controlling the PTZ, that's a PTZ camera behind me, instead of controlling the PTZ camera with the remote control, because I don't actually have an actual joystick controller. I was messing around with trying to see if I can get it to work with the Stream Deck and Companion. So I did. I have the home button, pan up, pan down, pan left, pan right, presets, zoom in and zoom out. So if I hit the home button, it just kind of shoots back to the desk where we have the host for the sports show. The preset 1 I have on the Stream Deck, it just zooms in to him. Preset 2 is the shot of the over the shoulder with me, and then I can zoom in, I can zoom out, I could pan left, pan right, obviously up and down. So let me just get it back to the preset. And yeah, so in any event, I was having a little fun with that. This week I'm going to see if I can set the second PTZ camera up and program presets for each of the cameras on one page, like one row of presets for camera 1, a second row of presets for camera 2. So that'll be fun. Let's see, Jeremy is here. Jeremy says, hey everyone, been busy configuring the Grandstream gear for the last few hours. That's right, you have your project this weekend. I thought it was yesterday, and you said partially might run into today, so I'm not sure if it just all got pushed to today or not, but I'm glad you're listening. I appreciate it. On my phone, so everything looks and sounds good as the phone allows. Cool. Chris says, lighting on point. Thank you. I knew what you meant. So in any event, yes. Have a poll here, and I know there's not too many viewers here. In fact, there's only 2 right now. But we have 3 votes, and we said, do you feel Synology is making, my poll is, do you feel Synology is making the right move regarding lock drives on the 2025 models? So we got 67% right now says no, and 33% say yes. So out of the 3 viewers, we have 2 no's and 1 yay. So we'll see. And I'll share my position on this as we go through the stream. So, and Jeremy says he was down yesterday with the migraine. Sorry to hear that. I don't ever think I've experienced the migraine, but I've had severe headaches. But in any event, I'm glad you're feeling a little bit better today. Get it done. So, Grace says, I'm going to pick up a Mac Studio as my next desktop. I picked up a MacBook Air for my on-the-go machine, and I love it. Yeah, I have the Mac Studio. Let's switch back to let's switch back here, and I could probably, let's see if I can pan it a little to the left and then zoom it in. So I have the Mac Studio here on the desk, and it's the M1. It's the original, but it's just my dedicated studio. I mean, I don't use it for business. I don't use it for anything else other than graphics on Photoshop, streaming, and video editing. It's basically just the video editing computer at this point. 10 gig out of the box, connected to the Synology 10 gig, and I do all my networking. 10 gig, I do all my editing over the network, so it's cool. All the data, raw data, lives on the 1621 plus, and that's where the database is for all the videos, and that's where DaVinci looks for the data. So, and it works great. It works well. So it was back then, we're talking 3 years ago now. It was $3,000 then. So I'm not quite sure. Let me see what the pricing is on the current models. Just bring it up. Let's see. Okay, let's see what we got. Apple.com. Let's go to the store. And let's go to the studio. By the way, I have it is virtually new. It was used twice. I have an M2 Mac Mini that I bought a year ago to use as part of a server farm. Not a server farm. A laptop farm, even though the Mac Mini is not a laptop. The concept of the laptop farm used a computer to bring in a remote guest. I had 3 remote guests, so I needed 3 computers. I had 2 laptops. I needed a third. This was before I got into the DeckLink Duo card and the Sonnet enclosure. So I had bought a Mac Mini back then. It was like $500. It's an M2 Mac Mini. I used it literally 2 times. And then after the second time I used it, 2 shows basically, I went the DeckLink Duo card. So anybody know of anybody that's interested in a literally M2 Mac Mini that's been used for probably 2 hours tops? I wiped it, set it back to factory defaults. If anybody's interested or you know of anybody, I'll take like $250 plus shipping. So just keep that in mind. So, and then we have the Mac Studio. Let's take a look at that. All right, so starting from 1999, 16-core CPU, 40-core GPU, and the 16-core neural engine. It comes, I guess, the base model. You can, let's see, explore it further. Pretty much looks the same. The I/O looks the same, similar. Oh, that's it. What I want to see, I want to get to the build your own. Let's go to here. There we go. Okay. This is the Mac Mini. Sorry. 1 over. Bye. All right. So there's 2 models, $19.99 and $39.99. So for the model, the base model, you get 36 gig of unified memory, 512 gig, half terabyte SSD storage, and then Thunderbolt 5 ports, 4 of them on the back, 2 USB-A ports, an HDMI port, 10 gig Ethernet port, and a headphone jack. Okay. And then you get 96 gig of unified memory, 1 terabyte SSD, 2 Thunderbolt 5 ports, 1 SDXC card slot. Oh, you get the 2 Thunderbolt 5 on the front on the more expensive model, and then you still get the 4 Thunderbolt 5 on the back. I got you. Nice. Maybe mine was more like 4,000 back. I don't remember, because the base model back then was 2,000. So, and I know I didn't get the base, but in any event, it just, and what are we talking about as far as processors? So it's got the M4 Max chip, the M4 Max with the 16 core is 300. Okay. The M3 Ultra is plus. Wow. All right. Well, in any event, point being is I spent either $3 or $4 3 years ago, and I'm not ready. I gotta milk this thing a little longer, because it's not a bad, even for the M1, it's not a bad unit. So can't drop another $3 at this point. So would love to, but I can't. Let's see. 8 gig in that mini. It's the base model, Jeremy. Hold on, whatever the base model was a year ago. Let's see. Eight gig of unified memory, 256 gig SSD with the M2 chip. Yeah, that's the base configuration. It was either $5 or $5.99. Like I said, it's literally was used to bring in a remote caller for 2 shows. It's virtually brand new. So, okay. Hey, Joe, welcome. You done with your flight already? I just talked to you 10 minutes ago. You were just getting started. You didn't miss much. We were talking about really, we're going to have a conversation maybe about Synology's recent press release news update. And talking about Grish saying he was going to pick up a Mac Studio. Grish, which one are you getting? Are you getting the base model, or are you going to build on it? Curious. Make sure you get your votes into the poll. Poll question: do you feel Synology is making the right move regarding locked drives on the 2025 models? And just to be clear, that's the 2025 plus models. So we have 7 votes, and we still have the teeter-totter leaning towards 71% say no and 29% say yes. And again, I hope we get into the conversation, and I will share my views on it. And Grish is getting the base model. Well, that base model with 36 gig of unified memory and 512 gig, half terabyte is a decent base model. I mean, you could always throw an external hard drive on if you need more additional space, right? And then I'm sure, Grish, you have tons of network storage. So let me just see what this existing, the M1 is. So yeah, the M1, when I bought it with the M1 Max, 64 gig. Let me see what else, what the other specs are on it. I definitely wanted enough memory to do the tasks that I wanted to do. Let's see, system report. Yeah, 64 gig, and I believe it has, let me look at the storage. Yeah, it has a terabyte SSD in it. So 64 gig terabyte SSD. And let's see, Thunderbolt wise, I'm trying to look at the ports. I know they're definitely Thunderbolt 3 on this one. I'm not sure. I'm looking. They may be Thunderbolt 4, but I'm not sure. Definitely Thunderbolt 3. I got the 4 in the back, and only in the front we have the 2 USB. So in any event, yeah. And then Joe, I was showing also the PTZ cam because Grish commented that he liked this angle. So I was just showing the different abilities of panning with the Stream Deck, but I'm not going to go through all that again right now because everybody saw that. And I talked about potentially whipping out the other camera later in the week and testing getting all presets set up for both cameras on the same page, different rows, like we had talked about in the phone conversation. So, all right. So real quick, what I want to bring up before we get into the Synology conversation, I want to bring up, respond to a question that I believe few people had in the last stream regarding the Synology CC400 W Wi-Fi cam that I showed. So one of the questions was, why does it have a hard-coded cable and not a detachable power, USB cable? And then the other question was, is it OnVIF compatible? And so I reached out to my Synology rep on both, and it's interesting. His response was, let me read it real quick. I found it to be interesting. I just got to get signed into that email. I have the answers to why, but it was curious to his initial response to those questions. Let me see if I can find the email. Okay. Let's go through this thread. Okay, so one of the correspondents says, "Hey Tony, thanks for getting it posted. I sent those questions off to the PM as they are great questions, and I don't know the answer off the top of my head. And I love when, if I don't know the answer to something and I reach out to the horse's mouth and the horse's mouth turns around and says, I don't know the answer. I like that. That makes me feel good." But he says, "But I am curious, as I am not super familiar with it, but is it common to have detachable power cords on Wi-Fi cameras? From what I am seeing, none of the ones on the market have detachable power." So anyway, he wrote back, and the answer for the detachable cable is to keep the IP65 rating, I guess, to keep it from prevent any dust or anything getting in. I guess if it's detachable, then there's an opening for dust, right? So, in potential water spray. And then as far as the CC400 being compatible with OnVIF, yes, it is. And I'm going to show you. He said, "Oh, it's a little tricky because it's not compatible with OnVIF right off the bat." And I know I couldn't find it. Even after the stream, I looked myself to see if I could find a setting. I looked in the DS Mobile app. I couldn't find a setting anywhere. DS Mobile app is the mobile app for Synology Surveillance Station, if those of you aren't familiar with that. And I looked in Synology Surveillance Station. I combed every setting. I could not find it. So in any event, let me show you where it's at. I'll bring it up on the screen in a minute. .4, so it must be. There it is. Okay, let me flip back. All right, so I'm at the login page of the camera itself. So it's not in surveillance station, which gives you full control of every other setting. But if you want to, you got to set the mode. It's set by default to work with surveillance station. Makes sense. It's an integrated camera from Synology, right? But if it does have an on-VIF mode, but it's not enabled by default. So you got to go into the camera itself. Let me just paste my password in. And we have 11 viewers here right now. Not bad considering I gave absolutely zero notice. So I appreciate you all for being here. All right, so we're in the camera. Got to come into the general settings all the way over to advanced. And you can see here, select how you would like to use your camera. And you can see here it's set to surveillance station by default. And then here's the on-VIF setting right here. So you literally have to get the camera set up using the mobile app or surveillance station, get it on the network and all that, and then go into the camera's UI itself, the management web page, and set the on-VIF setting. Of course, at that point, I was curious to see if the other Synology turret cam that I had, if it was the same thing. And yes, I logged directly into the camera, and lo and behold, in the same place, general advanced settings, there was the setting to flip it to on-VIF mode. So I believe the folks that asked that was Alonzo Smith, who I'm not sure is here. Actually, yes, I'm looking down. I could just see him, that he's here. And Jay was the other one. TVJ asked about that as well. So those are the answers to those questions. The cord is not detachable because, according to Synology, to maintain their IP65 rating. And yes, as you just saw, the camera could be put into on-VIF mode, but you got to set it up first through the DS mobile app or through surveillance station. So hope that answers that question for you folks. All right, let's go back to the comments. And then we'll look at the poll and see how many votes we have and where the poll is leaning now. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about the Synology recent news of locking the 2025 Plus model, locking the drives on the 2025 Plus models. It seemed to be taking a little bit of a step back from their initial announcement. Grish says, yeah, the built-in storage would be only used to store my profiles and apps. That's it. Everything else is external. That's on the Mac Studio. What's up, Joe? Hope you had a good flight. Drone flight, that is, for those wondering. Unified G4 and G5 instant, yep. Removable cable and our Wi-Fi only if you need an example to show him. All right, good to know. Alonzo, welcome. I went with Ugreen and QNAP. You are not locked to a particular drive. Correct. I love my Ugreen. I have had zero issues with it. It's been great. TVJ, hello. I'm not sure if you were here. Oh, Tech Me Out. Yeah, Tech Me Out, Tech for Fun. Hey, Avi, how are you? I am so sorry. I just saw the word tech, and I was actually wondering why Joe's saying hello to me again, because I thought we established that earlier, a few minutes. Welcome, Avi. Glad you are here. Okay. Alonzo says, nice, I will get one. Good afternoon, Sean. Thank you for being here. Tech for Fun, thank you for letting me know that was Tech Me Out. So, cool. I love my Ugreen NAS running True NAS, yes. So, again, Ugreen makes a nice product for the amount of time that they've been in the NAS market. Okay, we have 9 people here. 5 likes, and we have 11 votes. And as you guys can see it, I don't know why I'm reading it. 82 people say no, and 18 people say yes. So I want to bring up, I got to get into my other email now. I found a press release, hasn't been released in the US yet, which I find interesting, but it was released in Germany. Let me bring the screen up. Okay, and yes, it is in German, as you can see here. And no, I cannot read German. I'm going to go ahead and do the translate. There we go. I just want to read, I want to skim it. I'm not going to read it word for word to you. And then we're going to, so for those of you who don't know, Synology came out earlier in the week stating, well, word has it, whether it was officially announced or not, but the buzz around the tech world, especially the YouTube tech world, is that Synology will be locking down their drives. So they've already started to do that with their enterprise version model, with their enterprise models, right? Now they're, as of 2025, they're going to supposedly do it with the Plus series. So it says here, following the success of the high performance series, and I'll put a link to this down in the chat for you guys to read on your own. If it comes up in German, obviously just, translate it like I did. But here's the link to the article. And so just like I said, I'm going to scan it through it. I don't want to read it. On the Plus models, which will be released starting in 2025, higher performance, increased reliability, yada, yada, yada. With our proprietary hard drive solution, we have already seen significant benefits for our customers in a variety of deployment scenarios, said the managing director. By expanding our integrated ecosystem to the Plus series, we aim to provide all users, from home users to small businesses, with the highest levels of security, performance, while also significantly offering more efficient support. So that's interesting right there, right? So they're coming at it from the angle of, they're saying that by doing this, the reason is because it's going to increase security and performance and also offer more efficient support. Now, I'm going to take that statement and by the way, I'm kind of taking a neutral stand right now. Like I'm waiting to see how it plays out. I just don't want to go off the deep end. I'm trying to look at it like, you could have a glass half full and a glass half empty. And I'm trying to look at it from the glass half full side initially, not the glass half empty side. And I know right now, trying to convince the YouTube world and the Synology users out in the tech YouTube world is an impossible feat, because everybody's like freaking out over this. But let's look at that statement for a second. With the highest levels of security and performance, while also offering significantly more efficient support. Well, I get it. They're saying that for them, it's going to streamline their support and make it easier to support their models and be able to offer you more performance and value and security. And I'm going to take that statement and say, what I can say is, I can tell you from experience on the job, when I was an IT director for this public school system, we had that more efficient support. I totally agree with. We had 800 students total. We had every student in the middle school grades 6, 7, and 8 with Chromebooks. We had every student in K through 2 with iPads, and we not iPads, not every student. We had mobile labs but enough mobile labs to cover a majority of the K2 students. And then 3 through 5 students, we had at that point MacBooks and labs of rolling MacBooks. And for teachers, we standardized on MacBook Pros. And our thought process with that was we're only a 4-person department, including myself, who was more on the administrative end at the time. We had one network admin. We had one tech support person who traveled between the buildings. And we had one teacher who taught 70% classes and did 30% helping like first level support. So that we weren't a large department. So from a standpoint of streamlining things, it made support for us easier. We didn't want, especially when we did the one-to-one initiative in the middle school, we didn't want parents sending their kids in with their own tablets and their own various Chromebooks or laptops, because like now all of a sudden, not only do we have to manage all of these things, and then provide security filtering for them, but we also, in a way, become their support, their personal support now, because it's their personal devices and it's being used for school purposes. And right now, all of a sudden, they're going to come to us. Hey, this isn't working. Can you look at? No, we drew the line and said, like, we're streamlining. This is what it's going to be. So from an efficient support standpoint, I totally understand that. All right, so it says here for users means starting with the Plus series, which we said in 2025, Synology's own hard drives and third-party drives certified according to Synology's specifications will be compatible and offer the full range of functions of support. Well, I know everybody's saying it's, money and profit margins are driving this decision, and I'm not debating that. But this part of the statement here that says Synology's own hard drives and third-party drives certified according to Synology's specifications. That's the big question mark right there. First off, they're not saying just Synology branded drives. They're saying and third-party hard drives, but the question remains is, what are those certified hard drives going to be? In other words, what's going to be on their compatibility list? I guarantee you that if most of the common brands are on those compatibility lists, like Western Digital and Seagate, I guarantee you that, what changes really when you think about it? I'm using a combination of Western Digital and and Seagate drives in my Synologies here. So what would really change for me at that point? If, and the big if is, those drives end up on the certified compatibility list. So that's the other thing. Then the other statement that got me here was this one here. There will be no changes for the Plus models released up to and including 2024. Furthermore, right here, migrating hard drives from existing Synology NAS to a new, so when they say new Plus model, I'm assuming they're meaning the 2025 Plus models, will continue to be possible without restrictions. Think about that statement for a second. You buy a brand new to me, I'm interpreting it as, and tell me if I'm missing something here. If I buy a brand new 2025 Plus model, it's got to be Synology branded drives or whatever's on that third-party approved or certified list. Okay. Let's just say Western Digital or Seagate isn't on that list in the end of the day. But according to that last statement that I just read, if I migrate my existing drives into a new Plus model, they're going to continue to be able to be used without any restrictions. What am I missing here? Think about that. And then, let's see what else it goes on to say. The use of compatible and unlisted drives will be subject to certain restrictions in the future, such as pool creation, support for issues, and failures caused by the use of incompatible storage media. Volume-wide deduplication, lifespan analysis, and automatic hard drive firmware updates will only be available for Synology hard drives in the future. Okay. So anyway, that's the scoop as of that I am aware of as of right now. Again, this was released on April 16th. You're not seeing it. This was released on April 16th in Germany initially. It says that there is a US version of it, and I don't see the link to click me to that now, but when I looked at this previously, it said there's a US version. Would you like to go there? And when it took me to the US press release site, it wasn't there. In fact, the press release site was not up to date at all. So in any event, I'm curious to look at the poll again, and then, so the poll is still 11 votes, and we're still 82% no. And I'm not trying to sway you. 100. Let me make that 100% clear, because I don't even know where I stand on it yet, other than trying to look at the glass half full, not half empty, at this point in time, until more evolves with this situation. But 82 of you say no, and 18% of you say yes. Okay. That question should have probably been worded as, do you agree with, instead of the right move. Do you agree with what Synology is doing regarding the lock drives? That probably would have been a better way to phrase the question. All right, so let's go through the comments and see what we have. And I'm not going to comment on them one way or another. Everybody's entitled to their opinions, but I just was curious. I wanted to get this conversation going today, and kind of get a feel for where folks are. So Jeremy says, my Synology 1522 Plus may be my last Synology for personal use. TVJ says, it's been a crazy day. Already been to work for 2 hours, and our neighbor was just rushed to the hospital. Oh, wow. Sorry to hear that. Wishing them all the best. Synology, Sean says, Synology got less pushback on the XS series due to the customer base of those units. I understand. I think Jay says, I think it will hurt them, but I'm not sure how much. Sean says, at the end of the day, at my day job, we sure didn't mind keeping everything first party, but SMB and prosumer people buy what's best for them. Yes. Alonzo says, Synology is locking in customer. The software is not enough to keep their customer base. Many new NAS devices on the market with better hardware. Interesting perspective, Alonzo. And yes, I agree. There are companies on the market that have better hardware. It's the software that's hard to beat. Sean says, as long as there are a good selection of third-party drives, then for me, I don't have an issue. Sean, that's kind of where I'm at right now. That's that whole glass half full versus half empty. I have to see how it plays out and see what that certified list looks like. Joe says, I think people are just shell-shocked from big companies promising one thing and doing another. Understandable. It's just second nature for corporations to screw over the consumer. Not just corporations, but we won't go there because I don't talk politics with friends, and I just don't talk politics, period. So Sean said, I think this topic has just had me looking to see what the real value am I getting in staying with this brand. When it comes to support, when I need them, they were there. I've had good experiences, Sean, with Synology support as well. So Joe says this conversation is similar to Apple soldering memory and storage and making it non-upgradable. Apple says it's for performance and security. The rest of the world says it's for money. Yeah, it's another interesting perspective. And Joe says, good point, Sean. And Sean says, but when it comes to pushing new features or improving features, they are starting to lag behind. Definitely in their hardware, because from my understanding, there aren't many changes to the hardware in the 2025 models, which is disappointing. But then again, I look at it also from the perspective of, what are you using your NAS for? I mean, if you're using your NAS as a network attached storage device, then that's exactly what it is. But their app store has become so full of third-party and Synology-based applications that it's become more than NAS. When you think about Synology Drive, when you think about being able to run a DNS server, when you think about being able to run a photo, Synology Photos, a media server, Plex, when you start to get into all the Apache server and things like that, Maria database, I mean, was network attached storage really supposed to be that, or are we, the home labbers, making these devices in, wanting to make them into servers, which they're really not designed for, in my opinion, which is why I want to get away from running virtual machines on NASs and eventually try to move myself over to something like Proxmox, which I have been dragging my feet with for 3 years. But anyway, excuse me. Hardware Synology missing the bigger picture. Agree. Joe says another point of view could be that Synology has calculated how much they will lose customer base wise and balancing that with how much support they have to do because they don't have full control of the drive. Again, another good point of view. So that was I'm happy with that. We got some nice discussion going on that topic. Again, let's see. We have 13 people here now. Can we get a few more likes? We got 13 people, only 7 likes, folks. And we still only have 11 votes on the poll, so nothing's changed on the poll. Let's see what else we got. Practical IT. Jeremy says, you hit it on the nail. You hit the nail on the head, Tony. As much as possible, I try to use my storage for storage. Yes. I mean, all the other little fun stuff is nice to explore with, but it's a storage device. And Joe says, lastly, I actually chose to use Synology drives for my NAS. I did that because of specs. The drives were better. They also had longer warranty. And I want, if I may indulge a little bit, Joe, can I build on that, or do I have permission? Or since I was a little bit instrumental in helping you with that project, can I expand on that a little, or would you rather me not? Let me know. So, in any event, I appreciate all of you. And Joe says, yes, you have my permission. Well, not that I plan on saying anything that I shouldn't be saying, other than the fact that I understand you're coming from a bit, even though it's your personal Synology NAS, we ended up turning around and utilizing that device for a business, pretty much mission critical video editing, and moving of data around purpose, and totally understand in that case, like for peace of mind from I would have probably done the same thing that you did for peace of mind, knowing, well, listen, let's just go with the recommendation because this is mission critical stuff we're doing here. And I mean, not mission critical to the point where, But I mean, mission critical to, like, we're not sending somebody to the moon, but for your line of work, it's mission critical, and I get it. So, peace of mind, 100%. Alonzo says, at the cost of the NAS with the drives, I want the NAS to do more than storage. Okay, valid point. Hot take. What if Synology plans to release the software for sale? Would people be less upset about the hardware lockdown? Interesting. Interesting point. But anyway. And then, yes, mission critical if you want to end up paying your bills and your employees and your this and your that, 100%. So, well, thanks, folks. I appreciate that. I'm not closing the stream. I'm just thanking you for being active in the Synology conversation. Appreciate it. So, okay. Let's see. I want to take a look at, I got a new product here. I'm probably going to end up doing a quick video on it over the week, but it's the GWN 7711P. And I also have the GWN, which is the GWN 7711P is a layer 2 light network switch, and the GWN 7661E is a in-wall access point. But before I get to that, Alonzo, thank you. I did get that email with the 10-inch recess box. Now, when I saw it, I realized what you meant, and I appreciate it. And I'll just bring it up on the screen for folks to see. That is a really good little solution to keep in mind in a situation where that would come in real handy. And I only looked at it quickly, so I'm assuming it is an old work, like it could be used for old work. Which email did you send that to? Quick Tech Review or Tony at Quick Tech? I don't remember. Let me see. Alonzo, here it is. Gotcha. Let me bring it up on the screen. So this was the box Alonzo was talking about, 4868, 10-inch in-wall, 8x10. And you see it's got the AC power there. Looks like it's got opening on the bottom for low voltage pass through, and also on the side it looks like a brush plate, I think. Looking at the other picture here, yeah, I see like the brush plate here, or no, not a brush plate. That's there they have it as an HDMI port, but I guess you can, I wonder if that's configurable to be whatever you want it to be. And according to this, it looks like it's old work, because I could see the flaps, the dog ears up here to hold it onto the sheetrock. So cut it in after construction is done. And in some cases, that's necessary. Like this would be, if I didn't have to deal with the situation of the soundbar, the Sonos Arc soundbar, this would be the perfect situation where if the box wasn't put in the wall during the framing process, this would be a perfect go-to solution to get a recessed box in there. So I'm going to put this in my files. I may even pick up one or two to keep in inventory. So thank you so much, Alonzo, for sending that along. And that's the Arlington TVBU 810. And I could drop a link to that too in the comments. So thanks, Alonzo. Let's see. If anybody's interested, let me know. If not, I won't bother. So let's go back to the comments. Sean, I'm just using, like I said, I'm using virtual machine manager on my 1621 Plus, and I also started playing with the virtual machine program on the Ugreen, which I actually I had to restore my UISP server this week, and I couldn't revive the one that the UNMS on the old HP tower that I had running. So fortunately, I had a backup, and I installed Ubuntu 24.04 as a virtual machine in the Ugreen and ran the restored from the backup, and it's running right now on the Ugreen virtual machine. I'll say virtual machine manager, but it's just called virtual machine. But I want to get away from it because, I mean, believe it or not, the Synology the Ugreen virtual machine is much faster than the Synology virtual machine. I find virtual machine manager to be extremely slow. Jeremy says, hey, I just configured a 7711P today. Yes. Hello, Kevin. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Ferrara. I do actually use a Synology DS1019 Plus alongside Supermicro 8-Bay running unraid. Synology should not enforce locked drives in 2025 and later models. Okay, well, thank you for chiming in on that, Kevin. We're just not trying to sway anybody's position, not trying to impose my position on anybody. This was just literally to have a conversation of what's been going on in the Synology world, in the YouTube world this past couple of days. Appreciate you being here and pitching in. Okay, so let's see. Let's get that. See if I can get this camera on. All right, guys. Also, if you would indulge me, I'm just going to switch to. Let's see. That, I think that's the right key. I just need to do two things. I need to refill my crystal light and also give back some of the original crystal light. So give me 30 seconds to a minute. I'll be right back. All right. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Appreciate your patience. Let me do a quick look at the comments real quick before I open up the... Okay, so nothing new on the comments. We still have 4 of you here and 9 likes. Thank you so much. Hit that like button, please. Let me switch over to the overhead cam. There we go. All right. So, not big on unboxings. You got the quick start guide for the GWN7711P. It managed layer 2 managed switch layer 2 light. All right, so got the power cord in its glory. I got to pay attention to where I am in the overhead here. And then we have the actual switch itself. And here it is. All right, so it has 8 gigabit Ethernet ports on the front. The first 4, 1 through 4, are PoE. 5 through 8 are just regular gigabit Ethernet ports. We have some venting on the sides. On the bottom, we have the rubber feet for putting on a desk, or the option for wall mounting as well. You have your sticker here, your information sticker with the model number and the serial number and all that, and the password. Each Grandstream device comes with its own unique password, which is listed here, and they typically also include a little sticker in the box. Then on the back, we have our grounding lug, our Kensington lock, our barrel power adapter, and then our reset button. So initially, my first reaction to this switch is that it reminds me a lot of if you think about the original US 60 watt, the US 8 60 watt ubiquity switch that had only the 4 ports of PoE, and it was 60 watts. And I believe this switch is also total 60 watt output. So very, very similar, not only in specs, but design as well. So what I at least want to do is fire it up, log in for the first time, and go through the UI, see a quick overview of the UI, see what it looks like, and see if we need a firmware update. But I just want to do that. Figure I'll do it on the stream. This way it'll give me a dry run through and prep me for the video that I need to make on it this week. So anyway, there's that. And if you have any questions or you want to keep commenting on the Synology piece, by all means, feel free. Chat is open. Jay, I don't know if you were here because I did it when I first opened, but the CC400, I think you asked why, not why it had the cord. Somebody else asked about the cord not being detachable. You asked whether or not it was ONVIF compatible, and I got the answer to that. The answer to that is yes. But it doesn't come compatible with ONVIF out of the box. You have to set it up first using the Synology DS Cam mobile app, get it on your Wi-Fi, and then sign into the camera's management interface via the web and switch it from surveillance station mode to ONVIF mode. But it is capable. All right, let's get this thing fired up. Let me go into my router and find out what IP address it gets. Thank you all for being here on a Saturday afternoon, last minute. Appreciate you all. Got 12 people here and 9 likes. Thank you so much. Okay, clients. Okay. just looking for the IP address. Okay. Let's bring a tab up here. Oops, wrong one. Sorry. There we go. Okay. All right. So the IP address is 192.168.25.111. Okay. Password is, let me just put that out of the way, admin. Not the password, the username and the password. I'm thinking that I got to get the password off the bottom. Password is hopefully I got it all. Yep, perfect. Okay, and it wants me to initially set a different password, which is great. We're going to skip that for now because I just want to go through the interface real quick. So we're running system version 10125. Okay. All right, quickly, let's go through it and see. So there it brings you to the overview page. And it gives you the port info. You got your basic info and your PoE power supply. Power status is not powered. PoE 802.3 AF and AT max power supply per, I believe, per port is 30 watts. And the power supply priority is low. So if we switch to port 8, you can see the port is up, the other ports are down. Okay, so that's your port info. If we go into system, again, I just want to go through this quickly. IP settings, you have your options of setting it through DHCP or static. The manager settings, you can do, turn on option DHCP option 43. And then manager settings, and then switching. You have your port settings here. And they're all gigabit Ethernet ports. You can see it auto-negotiated at a gig. There's not much you can do inside. I mean, you can give it a description, port enable. It has 4 lags. Obviously, it's an 8 gig port. It's an 8 gig switch. You can do MAC address search. Now VLANs, let's see what we can do here. So it's got port VLAN, 802.1q VLAN, 802.1q PVID settings. So under port VLAN, enabled by default, it looks like you have 8 predetermined VLANs, like presets, it almost looks like, and no options to add. But let's see, if you click in, you can physically include the port in the VLAN or not, but no options to add VLANs. So under 802.1q, again, don't forget it is a light switch, a layer 2 light. But let's see what happens when we turn on 802.1q VLAN. Say OK. Confirm to enable. When enabled, port VLAN will be automatically disabled. OK. And then from there, looks like you can add additional VLANs. OK. And the member type and set untagged, tagged, and remove. OK. So that makes sense. And you can set your port VLAN ID here as well. It supports IGMP snooping, QoS, you have basics, priority mapping, queue scheduling, rate limit, storm control, PoE. Excuse me. It is a neat little switch, Jeremy. It's for, I think it's $49 retail, which is a great price. I think I'll confirm that. We'll go to VoIPsupply.com and take a look. Okay, power supply info. So there's 4 PoE ports. Oh, it's not 60 watts. Total power watt is 65 watts. Oh no, total PSC power is 60. Okay. And then here, power supply setting. So I believe it supports passive PoE 24 volt and 48 port, but not on all of the ports. Let's take a look. So port 1 is 802.3 AF or AT, but you could also switch it to either 24 volt or 48 volt. Let's see what port 2 is. 802.3 AF AT, but you only have the option of 24 volt here, not 48 on port 2. I'm assuming, yeah, port 3 is the same, and on port 4, the same. Okay, so you get 24 volt passive on port 1 and 48 on all 4 ports, but on port 1 you also get the option of using 48 port passive PoE as well. Monitoring, you got port statistics. You can do port mirroring, which is cool. Cable testing, loopback detection, nice. And then under maintenance, backup and restore, you got a ping utility built in and an upgrade. So let's see if there's an upgrade available. Oh, look at this. They didn't put in by default the wrong server path. They left it blank on this switch. All right. So let's go out to grandstream.com. Let's go to firmware. Let's go to switches. And 7711P right here, 103.21. So yes, we are definitely behind. We are running 101.25. Okay, so let's grab I could either download the file here, which I just did, or I can grab the server link. Let's just copy the server link. Go into maintenance, upgrade, and let's pop in the server path here. Let's say save here, and then check for updates. Okay, so while that's doing that, I also want to show you this guy. This guy's pretty cool. I'll keep you updated on the firmware update. So this is the GWN 7661E. You got the little password sticker, which I did not see in the switch box. User guide. And just let me pop you back to the other screen for a second. It says new firmware detected, save configuration modification. We're going to go ahead and upgrade now, and we'll let it do its thing. Let's switch back to the overhead. Okay, so inside the box, let's just see what's underneath, if anything. Okay. Let me get all this out of the way and talk about what we got here. All right, so we have the actual AP itself. You got an Ethernet port on the back, PoE ins, obviously powered over Ethernet. And then you have your 3 switch ports on the bottom, which is pretty cool. I believe 2 of the switch ports pass PoE out so that you could power off the switch, like cameras or something PoE related. I believe the 3rd one is not. And then, so what happens is this right here gets mounted onto the 1-gang box on the wall. You bring your cable through it. Comes with screws that you put in here. And then once it's all connected and up and running, and I've installed a couple of these for customers and they work great. Once it's all done, for a finished look, you just pop the cover on. I'm not going to snap it down all the way, and it sits on the wall, and it's really, really clean. Uh, Again, there's a gap here because I didn't snap it in all the way, but it really is a cool little access point. Works extremely well. And then you get your mounting screws and the two little screws to attach the back plate to the actual device. So I just wanted to show you that one to let you know I'll probably be doing a video on that as well. All right, so it looks like the switch updated and restarted. Let's take a quick look and see if there are any changes. And crap, I didn't change the password, so now I have to enter it again. Should be using my dental glasses, Dr. IT. Ah. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Aha, there we go. Now, what did I do wrong? Oh, I see. Yeah, more than one way to skin a cat. Good going, Aunt Tony. I didn't change the password. We're going to get it. Did I put a space there? No, the heck. Yeah, upgrade the firmware, lock yourself out. Good going. Try this one more time. Love it. Seriously? B, capital J, capital P, capital K. I don't care if you see the password 7. Wow. I did not change the password, so you know what? When all else fails, let me see what the comments are saying. No issues. Nope. Since the WireGuard issue. Practical IT, I am heading home, but we'll be listening. Well, I appreciate that, Jeremy. Hope the install went well. You have covered this in a prior stream, but what was the driving force to push you to try Grandstream networking? The driving force was a couple of things. I mean, I teased with Joe about the marketing fluff of Ubiquity and all the pretty bells and whistles and how everybody gets hyped over things like, switch ports that light up, or you got to have matching patch panels, silver, like the silver rack, when you can go out and buy like a 24 port patch panel, black for like, a third of the cost, but you got to have that silver one because it's all got to match, I don't get caught up in all that. I just want shit that works. So, I mean, I joke about that. That's part of it. Ubiquity has been excellent, right? I mean, I still have over 30 or 40, somewhere in there, I lost count now, production networks out in the real world. It's just, and I still support them. I'm not just going to switch all my clients over because now I decided to go the Grandstream route. They've been solid, and I have rarely ever callbacks. And I guess the question is, well, then why? Personal preference, change, Grandstream is solid. They seem solid. A lot of conversations with Willie over the years, and I just I installed the access points 3 years ago in the new home here, and they've been solid. And they're I will tell you, I don't know about the most latest and greatest Ubiquiti access points, but at the time 3 years ago, the Grandstream access points, in a couple of tests I did with some of this Ubiquiti access points, I was blown away at how much better the Grandstream access points outperform the Ubiquiti access points. So my prior home, I had all Ubiquiti gear and Unify gear. When we built this home, I kept all my Ubiquiti, edge router and the switches, but I started the slow migration by putting in Grandstream access points in the house here. They've been solid. And I've been just following their evolution of their releases of switches and networking gear, and they've really come a long way. And I decided to give them a try. And I've been installing them in my networks homes now for the last couple of months. And I just, again, went over my own, did my whole network migration here. So it's been a combination of things. One of the biggest things was frustrating for me is the controller software constantly evolving. Like I felt like every other day I woke up and there was another version of the unified controller. And that's all fine, well, and good in a home lab situation. But when you're managing 30, 40 sites like I am, and that's not a lot, mind you, that's small compared to what some people are managing. It just became too much of a hassle to keep up and constantly upgrading the controller. And I run it out in DigitalOcean. It's self-hosted out in the cloud, and I just didn't want to keep up with it. And so I guess to answer your question, it's a combination of reasons, and yeah, the marketing fluff and hype was definitely a part of it, but and Joe says it was the colored lights on the Unify. It wasn't just that, but it was part of it though. Does Grandstream have multi-site management like what Unify offers? Yes, it's in the Grandstream cloud, GDMS.cloud. And by the way, somebody asked me last time, it's Grandstream Device Management, GDMS system. Yeah, Grandstream Device Management System. You could set up, in fact, I have. For the couple of clients that I've moved over to, you could add multiple sites multi-site in the GDMS cloud. I'm not going to speak for GWN Manager, which is the local version, because I've never used GWN Manager. It only ran on Linux a couple of years ago. I don't know if it's evolved because I haven't been following it, if it evolved to other platforms. Grandstream claims that GWN Manager and GDMS are identical, just one's cloud-based and one's locally based. So if you can run it locally, self-hosted, and maybe it does multi-sites, I don't know for sure. I'm going to guess yes. Yes, Alonzo, that's exactly what I was about to do. And in fact, I have my handy dandy paperclip right here, and we are going to press and hold the reset button. And let that reboot. Give it a second. Yeah, that is really weird. The first time I did type the password in wrong. I left out one of the characters because I just couldn't see it with my regular glasses here. But then once I took the picture of it and I blew it up on my phone, I typed it incorrectly. But then again, I thought maybe I hit something wrong. So I said, let me do it again. And I know for sure, 100%. In fact, the last time when I read it on the screen in front of all of you. So anyway. Is there another Grandstream default that's generic to the firmware and not hardware? Do you mean password, David? Is that what you're asking me? Like, did the firmware change the default password? Am I interpreting your question correctly? And if that is your question, no. It's always the password is tied to the hardware. Alonzo Smith dropped what? I'm not sure what you mean there, Alonzo. Sean says, yeah, I had some of the same talks with Willie. I started with GS, then tried many other vendors. For me, UI at the time was getting almost there, then leave off the last 10%. Grish, I use the Linux server unified controller Docker images, been flawless for years. Cool. I understand your point, Sean says, when it comes to the frequent updates, that in itself can be a pain. I had floated the idea to UI to bring back the TLS tree when it updates half times a year, but no answer. Yes, password. Okay, I thought that's what you meant, but I wasn't sure. All right, well, we rebooted it. Let's assume it took on the same IP address. It looks like it did. So let's try this again. And that is the right device. I guess I should switch screens. There we go. Oh, hold on. Wrong screen. Let's bring it up here. There. Start that again. Okay. Fingers crossed. What the heck? Wait a minute. No, I'm not. That's the wrong. I am like losing it today. I'm wrong address. There we go. Sorry, guys. Ah, it took on a different address. All right. Let me get back into the router. Took on a different address. I'm surprised. All right. Let's see what the new address is. It is 111. Did I brick this thing by doing the firmware update? Seriously? Hey, look at that. Let's try it again. Huh. All right. Now let's try this. How many times does it take to sign into a layer 2 light network switch? That should be a poll question. How many times will it take Tony? I lost my thought because I'm making fun out of myself. I lost my place, I mean. This should work now. Come on. Yay! So I had to factory reset it. Look at that. Pain in the ass. All right, we're going to skip this, skip that for now. And all right, so we are updated. Yay. Any major changes? Doesn't look like. Ah, so it added. So here it added, it only had these first three. And here it added the dedicated voice VLAN and the OUI settings. So, okay. IGMP snooping, QoS looks the same. Security, storm control, and DHCP snooping. Okay, and then PoE Looks like here it added PoE Watchdog. I don't believe PoE Watchdog was there in the last time I went through it. If it was, tell me, and maybe I just missed seeing it. Monitoring, all the same here, and maintenance, and there are a few more options. Okay, so there was only 3 options under maintenance: upgrade, backup, and restore and ping. Now you have SNMP and LLDP support as well. All right, very cool. All right, so we got through that mystery. That was really weird. That's the first time that has happened to me. I've never had to reset a Grandstream device after doing a firmware update just to be able to log in. That was really strange. Hey, Keith. Welcome. How are you? How's that leg coming along, Keith? Yes, I realized that after the fact, Grish. 3 times. 40 times. You're in. Yay. Hey, what can I say? That's why you guys come here. I entertain you. You should relay that feedback back to Grandstream that a firmware update made the password not work. That would be an issue doing remote upgrades. Oh, 100% for sure. So I will. And Keith says slow, but coming along. Sure. Awesome. All right. Well, I think we've been going for a while. Wasn't sure how long this stream was going to be. I honestly didn't think I'd have people here today because of the last minute no notice, and I knew a few of the click people, the people in the click were possibly not available. I want to try something though. The other day I was playing with the IGMP settings, like what Jay did in his stream the other night when he was showing how he turned on IGMP on the GCC and then had to go into the router, into the switches to manually set the IP address because by default it put in 0000. And I wanted to see if that was the case here with my network and my switch and my router. And it was. So, and then in fact, after entering the gateway instead of the 0000, just like Jay showed you, all the multicast IP addresses did populate. So, and I let Jay know, and he was like, all right, so yours is doing the same as mine. Yes. Okay. Why am I saying this? Where are we going with this? Well, Wednesday night when we did the sports show, which by the way has been put to rest for now, we're taking a hiatus for those of you who did follow the sports show and did not watch Wednesday evening. We're taking a hiatus. We may be back. We may not be back. We're going to see how we feel come NFL season. And see where we're both at that point in time. Les could be on to maybe something different, or I could be on to something different, and might not just be available to pick it up and commit to it again the way we did. But we had a good year and almost 2-year run, and had a lot of fun. And I personally learned a hell of a lot. I grew so much from just producing that show behind the scenes on an AV. From an AV standpoint with the 2ME and all the audio gear and cameras and microphones. And yeah, I learned so much. I attribute a lot of what I learned to Joe from Capture the Concept. I know he doesn't like to take credit for things like that, but the show pushed me a lot. And when I had questions on how to get something done that I didn't understand, Joe was there to help, and Joe also gave ideas, lots of ideas to the show as well. So I thank him for that, and I thank him for his support on that as well. So, but where am I going with this? Why am I talking about what Jay did in his stream and then switch to the sports show? Well, I don't know if it'll be a couple years maybe sooner than a couple of years, but I would have said that 2 years ago. Now I don't know, but hey, who am I to argue? Small plug, the GS support is solid. Yes, it has been solid. I've had to use them, and I mean, I have to tell you, I can't say enough good things. They go right to the point of starting with a ticket system to an AnyDesk remote session to an AnyDesk remote session with you on the phone with them or not on the phone with them. They respond, they're there, and they solve the problems 99.9% of the time. Keith says you grew a lot and got some new cool gear. Absolutely. Yep. Thank you again, Joe. No, you were more than a sounding board. We bounced ideas off of each other, but you also, I grew from watching you. I grew from working with you on a couple of jobs when I come up and I visit, and I basically shadow you in the studio when you had the studio. And like when I come up in a couple of weeks, we're going to go on a job and work together. I learn, I absorb. And I thank you for all that. So, all right. So where am I going with this whole thing? How does the sports show, Wednesday night sports show, tie into what Jay showed on his stream? I don't know if it does. Is it a coincidence about what I'm about to share with you? But so I tested all that IGMP, all those settings and IGMP snooping and all that, and making the GCC to querier and all that. But when we started running the show Wednesday night, I had major hiccups in the remote with the remote callers, like similar to the hiccups that I had 5 weeks ago, where the video is breaking up, freezing, blacking out. This freaking mic, come on. There we go. And I was like, oh no, seriously? And I noticed it happening as soon as we went online, as soon as we went live. I'm like, oh, this is going to suck. Final show of the year, and it's going to have all these hiccups. So I quickly went on to the GCC off screen, obviously, and turned off everything. Well, at least I thought I turned off everything. It settled down a little bit, but it was still happening. So after the show, the next day, I went back into the network and into the switches and noticed that when I disabled IGMP snooping in the GCC, it turned it on in the switches, but it did not turn it off. So I thought I had it off when I went into the GCC and turned it all off the night while the show was live, but it didn't turn it off in the switches. So I turned it off manually in the switches, but I haven't had a chance to test. So what I was hoping is if someone out there, maybe one of the guys in the circle that I know that I can, if I were to set that scenario up now where I brought one of you in or two of you in as remote callers, the way I do it for the live show, if someone out there would be, all I have to do is set it up real quick with a Zoom meeting and send you the link. We don't have to talk about anything specific. This is more of just a test to see if the remote caller, if the hiccuping is still there or not. Now that I have everything turned, I don't understand why IGMP snooping would have any effect on that, but I'm curious to see if it was just coincidence. So, let's see. Keith Bennett saying hello to Joe and Sean. Hey, Sean, thanks for popping in, my man. Thank you. It was good to see you here, and thanks for participating in the conversation. Keith said he will Zoom, and then Practical IT said, made it home. I will say I didn't have any trouble with the 7711 switch. The APs were a little finicky, but I triumphed over those as well. Cool. All right. I got two callers, two volunteers. I'm going to bring in Keith. and Jeremy, and that's cool. Two people coming from two very different perspectives, but that's not what this is all about. This is about testing my ability to run a stream. So let me get it set up and we'll go from there. So give me 1 second. I'm going to do it off screen. I see the poll changed. We have 21 people yes now and 79 people no. We have 14 votes. Okay, so let me bring in, let me just create a quick meeting. Okay, so that's that. There's a few steps involved here. So I got to start the Zoom meeting in Zoom Workplace. I'll actually walk you through the steps while I'm doing it. Then launch Zoom ISO. And then join the meeting, join the Zoom meeting in Zoom ISO. Okay, admit me into the Zoom meeting. I know this isn't making a lot of sense, but this is what I do to set it up. Once I have my Mac Studio over here, connected to the Zoom meeting as a guest, then what I do is I go into Zoom Workplace and make the Mac Studio guest the host, so that now I have control as the host from the Mac Studio. I'm going to quit Zoom Workplace. And now I'm left with my Zoom call running through Zoom ISO as the host. And again, I'll show you. It's right there. Here, I'm moving the window on the big monitor. So that's Zoom ISO. Now, I'm going to send the link out to the call, to those two callers. Let me paste it here for a second. Okay, there's the link. I'm going to send it to you, Jeremy, in Signal, and you, Keith, I'll text it. So give me 1 second to do that. All right, let's see. Jeremy. Where are you, Jeremy? Okay, Jeremy, it's on the way to you. Keith, it's coming via text. And there. Okay, so once Keith and Jeremy get the link, they'll join like it was a regular Zoom meeting. And then what I'll show you up on the screen here, might as well show you the process. Okay, I'm waiting for those guys to join. I'll get the invitation here in Zoom ISO. I'm not going to keep that on the screen so we don't have infinity happening. And then once I add them to the meeting, then I'm going to pull them in from Zoom to Zoom ISO here. Okay, so 2 people have joined. Jeremy, admit Jeremy, and admit Keith. And I got to put my headphones on to hear this. Now, I think at this point they can hear me, but I can't hear them or see them until, if you're looking at my screen here, don't mind Benny, main guest, and Al. Those are my regulars. We're going to bring in Keith here, and we're going to bring in Jeremy here, and then, oh, and I have to also enable capture, and then I'm going to come over to audio, and I'm going to bring in Keith. Wait a minute, where did I bring in? I brought, yeah, Keith in there. I'm going to bring in Keith, and I'm going to bring in Jeremy. and now I see the audio. So now I know I can hear them. Guys, can you say hello?
Hello.
Hey, Keith.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. Sitting in my chair.
Jeremy, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to, let me switch back to me for a second. I'm going to go back to the Zoom ISO screen, and I'm going to let me bring up a super source. Let me switch to that there and put it on the screen. All right, so you guys should see, oh, hold on. Got to change the one desk. I got to change the super source that is, so I'm in the picture. All right. Okay, hold on, bear with me, guys. Box 1, we want to make the input Tony. Box 1, where's my camera? There I am. Okay. All right. Well, the spacings and stuff are off because they're set for the show, but you guys should be seeing that now, right? In the live stream?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what was happening is it's bothering me that Jeremy and our heads are being cut off. Hold on a second. I can fix that. That's going to bother me. All right, so position. I'm moving the box down. I got to move, not the box. I got to move. Oh, I don't care. I'm going to let it go for now. Because the concept here is to see how the remote callers are coming in and see if you guys freeze, see if you guys glitch. So if you stay on with me for a while, a couple minutes, because if it doesn't happen initially, it might happen after a couple minutes. It's intermittent. I never know. Sometimes it happens right away. So Jeremy, meet
Yes.
Keith. Keith, meet Jeremy.
Hi, Keith.
Sorry, my picture. I'm on my iPad, so sorry. But
Oh, no worries. And the other thing is, I want to, so you guys can see the what everybody on the stream is seeing. I'm going to spotlight this for everyone. And do you see in Zoom? Do you see the 3 up?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, cool. All right. So that's how I normally set up, for those wondering how I set up the stream and for the show. Jeremy, tell me about your project today a little bit. What was it involved and what was your part?
So one of my friends, a former student of mine, landed a gig with it's some sort of medical adjacent place.
Right.
And so he reached out to me, I don't know, a week and a half ago, and we were talking about equipment. And he was originally going to put Unify gear in, and I said, "Well, slow your roll a minute. Let's at least look at the Grandstream products." And so we ended up with GCC 6011, the 7711P switch, and two 7660 access points.
Cool.
And the first access point was a little finicky, but then I knew the trick, and the second one was like cake, and everything went together. Got everything updated, everything's integrated at the moment, and I have requested some additional information, like what do we want for VLANs? You know, what vendors might have specific requirements that will dictate firewall rules and such. So I got what I would call a base configuration done. And then it's like, well, I need some more questions answered before I can do, the full config, but they should be able to take it on site. I think they're going tomorrow when everything is closed for Easter, and they're going to run cabling for the security system and hook up the equipment that I configured today. So
Cool.
that was my late morning and first half of my afternoon.
So I have two quick questions for you just to follow up on the install, and then I want to switch over and ask Keith a question. So Jeremy,
Yes.
did you do? Were you physically? I know you did the programming of the network. Were you involved in the physical installation of like mounting the devices and running the cables and all that, or were you just programming it?
I was just programming it. So
Okay.
Daryl was actually at work today at his regular job. So I just went down there. We set it up in a work area. And then I reboxed everything once we had the configuration done. I sent him a document that was sort of my working document for passwords and MAC addresses and IPs and things. And it's a very crude piece of documentation at the moment, but it's a starting point. So
Okay. And final question on the install is the 7711Ps cannot be managed by the GCC, adopted into the GCC. So what did you use as the main controller?
I did adopt it into the GCC.
You did?
Yes.
Oh, I wonder what the if the latest firmware update allows that, because
Yep.
it's
So what I did is I logged into the GCC and updated that first.
right.
And then I logged into the switch, ran the update, did a factory reset, and was able to adopt it into the GCC.
Nice. Good, because I didn't think it's not listed on the GCC as switches.
Right.
Right. Okay. Cool. Well, thanks. Good. I see that. I learned something new.
Glad
Keith,
I could help.
yes.
Tony.
Keith, give us a quick update, because a lot of the viewers who watch my streams also tune into you, like Grish and Tech for Fun and TVJ. A lot of those guys that watch you, watch me, watch you. Give us an update on your healing and how that's coming along, and you want to give us a little sneak preview of maybe what Tuesday's live is going to be about?
Sure. First of all, I noticed that goatees and mustaches are in style. So it's good to know that was one of the qualifications for coming on your stream day. So yeah, healing is going decent. Supposed to see the doctor to get released to start doing some rehab, but I have about a 1-inch area of stitches that have been reluctantly not healing. So we'll see how that goes. Got 2 packages in the mail yesterday, 2 used pieces of equipment from Guitar Center. Both of them came without power cables. So I've been on with my salesperson saying, how do you say something's in excellent condition and then not send a power cable? So I have the new in-ear mix 16M for my PreSonus Studio, which is a stage type ear monitor system. I have another 16.8 Stage Snake, and then I have another today from reverb.com. Not a plug, not sponsored by them, but they sell used equipment as well, and I've purchased with them and sold on that site before. So I bought another in-ear mix because it was a guy's unit that he had as a backup, never had to use it. So now he's selling it, so it's never been used. So that one comes today. Hopefully that will have a power cable. So I ordered a PreSonus in-ear mix power cable. It won't be here by Tuesday, so I've got to use the one today that comes with hopefully a power cable. So Tuesday night I will be showing how to route from the PreSonus to the in-ear mix, talk about why I have to have 2 16.8. So what that is it's a network snake stage box, so you don't have to do anything but run a cat cable or I forget what they're called, but Joe will put it in the chat. Those cat cables that you do that have the locking mechanism on them. I can never remember the term.
Okay, Joe, maybe if you're still here and you
And
know.
I lost the super source on my screen. I don't know what happened, but
yep, that's me. See, I'm
okay.
switching you now to Jeremy.
Okay,
that's
cool.
just me playing around.
So that's my update. So the rest of it I want to do live. I'm actually not going to do any prep. So we're just going to try to hook up everything live on the air. So it'll be fun. So
cool. Joe said, I don't know why the chat's not coming up on the screen. Hold on a second. Oh, that's why. Okay. It should. Joe said
yeah,
it's
EtherCon. There it goes. So I'm 60, almost 64, and I use that as an excuse that these words don't pop up in my head. But thank God for the chat and Joe.
Hey, look, Keith, I'm in the tech side of things and the networking and stuff, and I'm 63 years old, and even the stuff in my own field, the words don't pop up.
Yeah, I'm still learning the language that when I tune into your channel or Jay's channel, sometimes I get off early and go look up 2 or 3 terms because I'm just trying to I have a Unify system. I rely on my buddy to come fix things when it doesn't work right.
Yep.
But I want to learn and grow in that area. So I'm going to add a NAS this year, or a NAS, however you want to say it.
NAS,
Tony's done research for me before and sent all kinds of recommendations, a couple years old now, but so I appreciate that. So I definitely want to learn and grow in this area. I'm not just tuning in for the fun of chatting in the chat, but I really do want to grow in this area. So that's why I tune in as often as I can in your channel. So
no, I appreciate that. Well, the beginning of this stream, I know you tuned in towards the second half. You might want to go back and watch the beginning of the stream because we had a whole conversation on Synology's recent press release regarding what they're doing with proprietary hard drive and things like that. So just to get caught up on what we were discussing. And then when you're ready, if you want, reach out to me. We could talk what's available then and what your needs are and stuff. So.
Okay.
All right.
And by the way, this is what a iPad 13-inch M4 Pro camera looks like. So if you're wondering, so this is what the quality looks like in a living room with no special lighting. So, and this is audio from the MacBook or the Mac 13-inch Pad Pro M4 as well.
Nice.
Wow.
Cool. Well, the reason I wanted you guys to come, or anybody to come on and test, was to see if the video glitched at all. And I have not seen one single glitch out there. So
I haven't noticed anything myself.
Yeah, I haven't seen one. I've been watching very intently. So
I mean, what literally would happen is not only would the person freeze, but then after they would freeze, their lip sync, their audio lip sync would be out of sync big time, and then you would hear their voices speed up to catch up to get into sync. It was really weird. Sometimes they would actually black out, like they would disappear from the box for literally like a split second and then pop back in. So you'd see a blackout and then there they were again. And I was so pissed off because I thought I solved that issue weeks ago. But it's working perfectly fine here. So thank you guys both for coming on. Jeremy, was there something else you wanted to say? Did I cut you off?
No.
Right before I started that? All right. Well, thank you guys both. I've been going here for almost 2 hours, which is a rarity for me. It's time to go downstairs and spend some time with the missus. Get ready for Easter tomorrow. And so I'm gonna close the Zoom meeting for now. So guys, thanks again for participating in this test. Appreciate you both.
No worries.
See you later.
All right, guys. Well, we still have 10 of you here, so I appreciate that. That was kind of cool from a standpoint of testing the remote callers through Zoom ISO into my studio here. So anyway, I don't know if the IGMP snooping had anything to do with it or not, but it's working like a charm today. So, and I'm not going to turn it back on to. I want to leave well enough alone. Alonzo says, again, my key is off. Why? There we go. Alonzo says, thank you very much. Alonzo, thank you very much for being here. Joe said, Keith's iPad camera looked good. It really did. Medical adjacent, aka chiropractor, medical adjustment maybe. It's the chair of the unknown soldier. Yes, I pulled up initially the super source that had Les's camera in the box. So anyway, thanks, Alonzo. I appreciate it. That was fun. Yes, thank you, Jeremy. And anytime. Thank you, Keith. Hopefully I'll see you Tuesday night, the second half of the stream, as always. And yeah, 157, 150. We just turned 158. We still have 10 viewers here and 11 likes. Thank you, guys. The final poll results. Let me close the poll. 79% say they do not agree with what Synology is doing as far as locking down the drives, and 21% say yes. So we're going to end that poll. Thank you guys for participating in that. That was 14 people total vote. So, all right. On that note, I want to wish all of you a great rest of your weekend. Those of you that participate and observe the Easter holiday, happy Easter to everybody. Have a great week, everyone. Keith, I'll see you hopefully the second half of Tuesday evening. For now, this is Tony signing off. Take care, everyone.